And they're off. Here we go.
We've been on the Currents buzz for ages. They make us feel good. They make heaps of good runners feel good. New Zealand black currants. That's the thing. That's the secret. Head to currans, curranz.co.nz to read up on the science behind these wondrous purple little pills, and then avail yourself of the 20% off your first order of Currans 30s with the code DIRTCHURCH.
Head over to 57A Buchan Street.
Boom.
To Tahi Christchurch. Buchan Street, which is where Further Faster is the best independently owned outdoor store in the known universe. They're quite the stalwarts of Buchan Street. They've been there for at least 6 years, which is how long I have been saying Buchan Street, and this is the first time in those adverts that I will say Buchan Street. So Buchan, Further Faster.co.nz.
Doesn't like Further Faster, they're in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to Further Faster now.
Oh, Further Faster, they're in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious.
Go to Further Faster now.
Dirt Church Radio.
Episode 277 of Dirt Church Radio. I'm Matt Raymond.
And I am Eugene Bingham. Tēnā koutou katoa. We made it. We've been to Buchan Street and back and survived. Well, that was
I've
last
got
week.
that
But
out
anyway,
of my system.
that was worth mentioning.
Yeah.
I just cannot believe that not one person, all of you who listen, who knew that, no one bothered to say.
No one. Like, it says at the live show, I was like, they told me in the car on the way over, which sounded like kind of a gag. They told me in the car on the way over. And only because I mentioned it, they weren't going to tell me. Which actually, you know, when you have a conspiracy and you think like there's a big mass conspiracy, and you say, nah, it's there's so many people know about this that someone would have to leak it. Yeah, no, it actually lends itself to the fact that some of these
I don't think
conspiracy
we've been to the moon.
No. I've certainly never been to Buchan Street. But anyway, how are you, bro?
I am good, thank you. I'm super hyped about UTA coming up, and a bunch of other good races coming up. Yeah, it's going to be a great little period that we're about to go through, isn't it? Yeah. How about you? How are you going?
Yeah, I'm good, actually. So this week, the recovery from skedaddle, I haven't had sore legs like that in quite a while. Like, I've got a stand-up desk at work, and people were like, "Are you okay?" Because I sat the whole week. Like I was, those legs, they were. There was the big involuntary jerking. There was it was all on.
Like there's this sort of, you're walking along, and then suddenly one of your legs just
the whole gamut
temporarily just goes, and you're like trying to look around, see if anyone's seen you.
You should see me trying to take the recycling bin down my driveway. That was a tragic.
Your driveway is steep. No, that's cruel. Were they filming you or something? Like, why would they do that to you?
No one was. But again, this is the thing, right? Like, super excited. We're away for skedaddle. We had the live show, so thank you to everyone who came, and thank you to everyone who listened last week. Super fun. At Further Faster, we had the skedaddle stuff, and now we're kind of in this little interliminal space, and we're just about to sort of head off to bloody Ultra Trail Australia. So super good.
Yeah. But the world sort of keeps carrying on, doesn't it? And you know, the old Dead Cow Gully backyard is on as we speak. Probably not much point even talking about it because it's, you know, they'll probably still be going on Wednesday. Rotorua Marathon was on this weekend. Personal little sad moment for me in that it was supposed to be my 15th on the Survivors Club, but I'm not running at the moment with my injury, and I actually might not even be running by next year. But anyway,
I have hope.
We'll see. So that was a little thing to deal with. But I also, I wanted to, I don't know if people understand. Do you understand? You can sign up for the DCR Aid Station podcast via Spotify, Apple, and so on. So for this year, if you haven't heard, we have been writing newsletters and you can sign up. I think we dish out some pretty good stuff in there. Last week we had some outtakes from the live show and things, and but if the reading side of it is not your thing, you just want to listen to podcasts, you can just sign up for the DCR Aid Station podcast. Have a look for it. It's a separate feed on Spotify, Apple, and wrap your ears around that.
Some good. I mean, not to toot our own. We've been doing this a long time.
Yeah,
so we're coming into 6 years of Dirt Church Radio, and I feel like this is kind of the best stuff that we're putting out. So have a listen, have a hoon, get involved. We love the community, and we'd love you to be part of it. But look, speaking of things marching on, Shannon Lee Litt marching on.
Wow, she ran a race in the jungle in Thailand on the weekend, and then just carried on with her ultra marathon a day. I think she was going to get 3 hours sleep between the race and having to get up to do the run before the heat of the day gets too much. So, wow. And Nick Ashall as well is running across Australia. He's into the Nullarbor Plains, the outback of Australia. Links in the show notes. It is just all on. Yeah. Speaking of on, our show for this week.
Wow. I love how this is becoming a regular occurrence. We catch up with our old mates, Pottinger and Kerry Suter of SQUADRUN fame, ahead of Ultra Trail Australia in the Blue Mountains. And this is the second biggest trail festival in the world outside of Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. It's going to be amazing. We can't wait to get across, and we wanted to do the race justice by previewing it, having a look at the elites who are lining up, but also remembering what makes this race special.
Yeah, so there's heaps of good tips in there. There's heaps of good advice. Even if you're not racing this year, it might be something to think about, and some things that apply to whatever race you're running, really, from two of the sharpest minds in trail running. So you'll enjoy this chat. It gives you a bunch of good insights, and listen up. I think you'll enjoy it. That's Kerry and Ellie are the best brains in trail running, by the way. That's what I meant. Not us. Not tooting our horn that much. Rightio. Let's do this.
Greatest run ever. Greatest run ever. Greatest run ever, which is the part of the show where we ask you to write into us, not ask us to write into you, and tell us your greatest run ever. It doesn't have to be a race or a mountain summit. It might just be a run around the block, something that's sung to you for some reason. Send them in to us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. And this is from Chris Martin, who may or may not be the lead singer of Coldplay. That first album really slaps. Hey dudes, grateful for you both what you do. Thanks, bro. We're grateful to you as well. I spend a lot of my time on longer runs writing stuff that never finds a keyboard. It's like a fidget spinner for the mind. Today was not an opening paragraph for a greatest run ever idea that will never be finished or ever noted down. Not sure if it was the cold, the sunrise, or the adulting going on, but I think I poetried. So if you're open to a bit of stretch of the brief, absolutely. Totally. We love prose. Let's go. Commute early. Quiet wheezing mass shuffles forward in the softening grip of winter's last breaths. Dull teeth and pressure. Discomfort displaced by the abundant embrace of sunrise and the horizon finding its way underfoot. Endurance is not strength or grit, rather patience, sensitivity, presence or escape. A gentle firm ask of the moment and all within. Listening to that must be listened to. Tending to that must be tended to. And realizing that no ally to the task at hand. And he's put context. Fasted hoof commute, 5:30 rise, espresso for GI animation, toes on the road 6:10, typical race kit in a vest, 2 times soft flask, some emergency calories, just in case, and a towel. The ask is simple, get to work, 20k-ish, go easy, and run within yourself, be able to work, stretch goals, do it tomorrow too. He's even put a link to the music.
Yeah. And he says, legs are happy, mind sharp, run strong. Thank you, Chris.
Click it?
I think we should do some investigation here. There's music links, there's lyrics. He included a couple of links to Spotify. We'll put them in the show notes. Thank you for bending the genre of greatest run ever in that way. Matt, I'm interested, as a former bass player, could you imagine those lyrics there? Could you think of a bass line to go with that? Is that how you were working your way through that?
No, I wasn't. I could definitely.
Well, maybe we should,
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, let's see what happens.
The only running based
I could do triangle.
you could do triangle. The only running based song that I am aware of is by the band Fugazi, and it's on the album Red Medicine, my favorite record of all time, and it's called Long Distance Runner, and it's about a long distance runner.
There you go.
So yeah,
Challenge laid. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris, and the rest of you. Like you just heard from Chris, you can interpret Greatest Run Ever any way you like. Send them in to us, dirtchurchradio@gmail.com, and you can have a read of them on the website as well. Enjoy. Right, on with our chat with Kerry and Ellie. We said a bit about it at the start. It's a great UTA preview. We think there's going to be something in here for all of you. Whakarongo atu. Kerry Suter, Ellie Pottinger, welcome back to Dirt Church Radio.
It's a pleasure. Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, love it. UTA season, pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's a really cool time of the year. Like this is, I feel like as we sort of lock down for winter, like things get a little bit quieter in the trail running scene. This is kind of like the Swan Song. This is like the curtain call for the season, and it's a mega race. I mean, it still remains one of the biggest races in the world, and outrageously popular. Good to see the event sell out again. It's sort of had a couple of sort of patchy years. It's sort of found its new legs again, sort of like a new freshly born deer, and it's hit straps again. So yeah, it's outrageously popular, and we're talking in the vicinity of 7,000 athletes are going to take place in 4 different distances across 4 different days, which is one of the world.
5
days.
Kerry.
Yeah, true.
Don't forget the most important race of the weekend.
Kids Dash.
What's the most important race of the weekend,
The
Ellie?
kids race.
Yeah. Yeah, that sold out in seconds as well.
You talk about the size of it, and it's quite mind-boggling, isn't it? Just the scale of this event on a world stage as well.
It is. I mean, I guess it matches the landscape, right? Like the landscape is, I've described it before, is just so vast. When we hosted a training camp in March, our UTA training camp, and the first thing I always do is take people out to Echo Point and say, get a lay of the land, like this is where Queen Vic Hospital is, and this is where Narrow Neck goes, and this is, Kadamba Valley, and you can see people's eyes just going, piecing it all together, and so the event really matches the landscape. Like it's this really huge, kind of beautiful, fun, vibrant, challenging experience.
World UNESCO?
Yep.
Yeah, UNESCO World Heritage Area.
Yeah.
Biggest Belgium.
Biggest Belgium. That is a great fact, Matt. I hope the beer's as good as well, and maybe some frights.
Yeah, it is. I remember the first time that Eugene and I went there, and just how it's, when you don't expect it. It's essentially it's in a suburb of Katoomba. Well, Katoomba is it's a town, but it's just there, and you sort of we ran up to, what is it,
Eagle's Nest,
Eagle Hawk Drive or something. There's just a thing, and you just hit this lookout, and there were like people there like eating burger rings, just locals, and we were like, this majesty, like completely overwhelmed, and people were like, yeah, it's pretty good, but yeah. So I mean, my stock line is the Grand Canyon and a jungle had sex, and the Blue Mountains. Like that's essentially what it's like. Right?
I think as a Kiwi going there, it was funny because I got there and I looked out, from Three Sisters from Echo Point towards Botawal and Mount Solitary, and I remember thinking, where are the mountains? It's kind of like blue valleys, it's more like the earth is sunk away from the hillside, and as a trail runner, you play on the escarpment on the tops, and then sometimes you're down, in the valleys and amongst the eucalypts, and it's pretty mega, but fortunately it's not 1,000-meter climbs all over the place, but they certainly make use of the relief of the landscape. I think one of the things that Australia has got, much of the world beat on is beautiful coastline running, which isn't in this event, but also beautiful escarpment cliff face running, and this is probably really the crown jewel when it comes to that. I can't think of other places, maybe outside of an event at Grand Canyon that could match it, and you won't get 7,000 people allowed to run up and down the Grand Canyon.
For sure. Yeah, it's real eyes on stalks eyes on the end of stalk stuff, isn't it? What was your first involvement back in the day?
Oh, I remember coming out with Paul Charteris and Tim Day when they were first starting to sort of integrate the two events. Like Tarawera Ultra was trying to and North Face 100 it was at the time. That would have been about 2014 or so. And I remember I was just sort of I was literally sleeping on the foot of Paul Charteris's bed because there was no accommodation. He had accommodation sorted, and he's just like, "Oh, you can sort of like bunk with me." And I literally was like at his feet, sleeping, on either at the end of his bed or on the floor at the end of it. And there was just whoever we could cram into houses to be part of the event and support it. Hanny Elson was there, and just all sorts of people helping out and crewing and. I immediately fell in love with it. And I realized that I just sort of needed to get close to Tom and Alina. I was just sort of drawn to them. There's something, I find Tom, his just chaotic, magnetic, just a beautiful person. And within a year or two, it was sort of I felt like a bit like his right hand man for that week. And like I would be in charge of his inbox or his phone, or like just letting him focus on the event. And I remember one year standing on the start line, and he's sort of like didn't really have anyone to do the commentary or start the races. And I was sort of like, oh, give me the microphone. I figure I can probably just shout at people and give them a countdown and let them go. And it kind of started from that. And I remember, I think about 2015 or 16, I think, I started pulling 27-hour shifts on the finish line, just cheering athletes in. And it just was relentless, because there's so many runners, you're so busy greeting athletes that you don't ever unwind. You're always sort of like it's just so much hype, and it doesn't stop for like 26 hours. And so, why would we? So, yeah, it's great. It's great to be part of it and host it. And I think that, like even from a volunteer perspective, they have something like 700 volunteers at the event. It's one volunteer for every 7 runners or something like that, which is staggering really when you think about it. And you certainly wouldn't see that sort of support ratio or those sorts of numbers, at your local marathon. It's pretty cool that, and the trail runners, the volunteers are often trail runners as well. So just an amazing family, an amazing vibe with that event. It's like if you've done Tarawera and you like the big hoopla, then this has got to be the biggest bucket list race for any Australasian athlete.
You're so right about the it's sort of, again, that sort of melange. Like you've got the Tarawera vibes in that it's big, it's it's part of the UTA now, it's all that stuff. UTMB. But at the same time, when I was on the mic overnight last time I was there, standing next to a chap giving out medals, he'd run the 50k, come up from Sydney, run the 50k, and then spent his whole night choosing to greet other runners, hand out medals to the 50 and 100k runners, because that's what he really wanted to sort of give back. It's so special, hey, that what do you think it is about races like that draws, because all races have volunteers, but what do you think it is about a race like UTA that draws volunteers like that?
I think a lot of them are runners, and they have such a good time that they want to go back. And even if they're running, like people will volunteer the day before their race or something like that. They just love what it gives to them, and that's what motivates them. And the same when it comes to, even if people that aren't running, they when they volunteer, they get that same experience. They just go, man, this is amazing, seeing these people achieve these things. Or, like striving, toiling away. Like there is something about the human spirit. Like I think it's just so fascinating and so heartening and so touching to see people pushing their boundaries. And that's what's really kind of makes you want to volunteer and makes you want to be involved in race day, because even if you're there pouring drinks or something like that, it gives you so much too that you can take away from the event. So I think that's the draw card with volunteering, is it's just a really special experience.
The other thing that struck me is how much SQUADRUN is part of UTA. You guys, you've become part of the event as well.
Yeah, we've had so much fun over the years there, and we've created so many great friendships, and we've hosted lots of training camps there, and I got so many neat shared stories, and yeah, just spent so much time on country and just absolutely love that place. And I think that is just kind of, continued year after year. But we've had fun. People have had fun, and they want to, be part of it.
Yeah, we just wanted to help as many people as possible. So UTA very much became, a mechanism for that. And I don't think that good information and support should be expensive. So, like where the coaching model existed at sort of, your standard private coach is charging you sort of $40 or $50 a week. I thought I must be able to do this in a better way for people. And UTA and Tarawera were just really useful mechanisms for us to engage in the community and help people. So there'll be plenty of Squadron Black and Squadron Blue shirts out there on course, and plenty of Go Squaddy and support it. Then it's, I don't know, again, somewhat infectious. It sort of gains a bit of momentum, and cool community of supportive people, and there'll be heaps of them going up the mountains for a run next weekend.
So what is the ratio of black and blue?
Good question. Oh, we'll have to.
I don't want to cause a fight because you're in this, But.
How about we answer that at the end of UTA? We can all have a little figure that we say we think it is.
Interestingly, the blue shirts were born at UTA effectively because I went for a run, my first sort of really big run in the mountains down Kadumba and up Mount Solitary, and I took we only had black shirts at the time, and I got absolutely blasted by the sun. And I remember I was just crawling back up Kadumba, and Ali said at the time, that's the joke. The joke's over. It's time to get some different coloured shirts. So that's where it came from.
That's 100% the story, Kerry.
I made a big mistake, is what happened. I shouldn't have taken 500 mils of water on a massive adventure in a black singlet in the blazing Australian sun. So, but if you ever get the chance to head out to Mount Solitary, the race doesn't go over there because it's too hard to support athletes out there, unfortunately. But if you ever get the chance, you're in the mountains, I think Ruin Castle and Mount Solitary, Botawal, and are really worth a look. And if you get out the other side past Meadow Gap into the Wild Dogs, it's pretty cool out there. The run through to Kananga is pretty cool, and if you get a chance, it's a good place for adventure. It's not just UTA country. I mean, great course, great race, but aspects of 6-foot track as well. The UTA 100 course uses a reasonable chunk of the 6-foot track as it comes up Nelly's Glen back to Explorer's Tree. And it's cool they've sort of like returned to the original courses, as best they can, plus or minus, a couple of closures. The New South Wales gets absolutely hammered with weather in the last couple of years, and I think it's been prior to that was the fires, and then now this, and so they've done a really good job piecing together. And fingers crossed if the weather holds for another week, that's looks like everyone's running more or less on the not quite the original courses. The original courses used to finish at the Fairmont, but back to Scenic World, which is sort of the traditional home of UTA.
So it's interesting, isn't it, how you can't understand the severity of the weather and the consequence for people. Like, we were down with Devon, on a run, and he's like, "Oh yeah, here's the slip," and it was essentially, a 40-meter wide swathe of destruction and instant death that had careened hundreds and hundreds of meters down this very steep sort of canyon wall. It's you really are at the mercy of the elements to a greater or less degree, aren't you?
Yeah.
Or it feels, it's interesting when you're always at the mercy of the elements anywhere you are when you're running outside. But the thing that the little sort of itch at the back of my head was there's overhanging rock. You're running and there's overhanging rock, and at any time that overhanging rock could decide to be free falling rock, I guess. It's certainly played on my mind.
Within the last few years, it's a semi-regular occurrence, and it is a tragedy when it happens. So I guess you can respect why New South Wales New South Wales Parks is sort of so careful about ensuring that the infrastructure. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure on the sides of those cliff faces, that it's all stable and secure. And So, because we're a parks operator, we've got permits to operate there. We get the closure notifications pretty much every day of the sections that they're closing for inspections or, closed for stabilisation work or those sorts of things. So it's really constant. And even that course, whilst it seems pretty straightforward that you're just sort of running around in some eucalypts, there's different landowners, multiple different landowners out there, and the water catchment, the road down Kadumba to Jamison Creek, all of that is the city water treatment. So, that's they're very particular about how that road is used, because having fresh water in Sydney is a lot more important than us weekend warriors kicking dirt around the place. So we're lucky, very, very lucky to go out there. And even sort of Megalong Valley out, Mark's Farm and Iron Pot and those areas around there, multiple different landowners that the 100k course uses there, and 6 foot track is managed by a trust, and they're very particular about access as well. So there's just a lot of moving parts in the event. So amazing. There's just no way that anyone else could rock up and say, hey, I'd like to host an event with over 5,000 people in the Blue Mountains. You just never get that away nowadays.
Can I, with that, I would like to issue an apology to the listeners of Dirt Church Radio, and to you, Ellie, and you, Eugene, and you, Kerry. I'd fact-checked myself about the Blue Mountains is as big as Belgium statement that I made. And I heard that from Dave Stewart, by the way, so I'm going to chuck him under the bus. So Disco Dave, heard it from Disco Dave. It's a third as big as Belgium.
Okay.
And twice as big as Brunei. I don't know why they decided to put that in. That's an odd comparison, but I've just, I apologize for any outrage that statement caused. It's like an ultra runner, isn't it? The UTA. It's been through some stuff. It's been through tough times, fires, flood, and course changes. But it endures. Hey.
Yeah. What are we? 2008. So I can't do the maths on that. 16 years of running in the Blue Mountains, minus some problems with that spicy cough for a little while. So you should, downplay that was pretty serious. So yeah, ducking and weaving that event still going. So that's really cool and competitive as always. It's one of those events that draws some of the best athletes out in across Australasia and even further afield. So there's always been some really, really good racing in both the men's and women's races, and I think this year's looking, really quite quick again. So if you are, a bit of a train spotter and you like sort of seeing some of the faster athletes, and you're not out on course, make sure you're around to see them finish, because it's unreal the times that these guys and girls are throwing down. And it's a really, again, star-studded lineup that we've got, coming up this year.
We'll come to talk about the elites, and because we've got the elite list to go through. But over your time of being involved with the race, what's some of the best performances that you've seen?
The thing that's really stuck with me at UTA is those races that, accordion a bit on further steers. You get updates that someone's gone, through Queen Vic Hospital, 5-minute lead or 10-minute lead, or, Scott Hawker's chasing Dylan Bowman, or you've got these athletes that are just, right the way, they're just chasing each other, hammer and tong all the way to the end. And the number of times that things sucks on the number of times that leads have changed, or the top 3 positions have changed on further steers. And if you've ever gone up further steers, it's struggle street. For any moderately fit person, you're probably in for 15 minutes is an okay go up there. 10 minutes is hell for leather. And these guys and girls are they're clawing at the railing in front of them, and they're married to the handrails, and you could only imagine what it would be like going up a steep set of stairs, and suddenly second place is on your shoulder, and they're chasing on your heels. They've got to get by you at some stage. They've got to somehow, you've got to yield, or I've seen 4 positions change, and it happens. It'll happen every year in the 100 and in the 50k. It's unreal calling that in, because you don't know. You're standing at Scenic World, and you're sort of looking around the corner to see who's going to come to the top of the hill and race to the finish line. You just don't know, and I love that about this event, because it's a neat way to finish. And for those athletes that aren't going to finish on the podium, there's still a lot to drive for. A lot of people, that those belt buckles, or even just beating previous years' times, you see so many so much cramp in that finishing chute. I've never seen so much cramp in a race that you see in the finish line. I'm sure everyone's got stories, but there's just pretzel-shaped humanity just sort of buckled over and writhing in pain, and hilarious because we all sort of dust it off and walk away from it and laugh about it, but something about that sort of like climbing the stairs and then trying to run the last sort of few hundred meters hard is as a commentator, it's hilarious. Thanks for everyone that does that.
Matt looks like he wants to share his cramp story. I reckon that was what went through his mind just then. I could see his face, and I was like, I know exactly where Matt's going right now, and it's to that cramp moment from last year.
Can I say?
Yeah, go for it.
Have you heard the story, Kerry?
No, I didn't know. I didn't even know you were racing. Oh, that's fascinating.
No.
No.
This was a moment of pure unabashed schadenfreude on my part. Old mate finished the 50K, came across the line. Looked like one of those hybrid athlete dudes, like, the kind of Nick Bear thing, came across real fast, jumped into the air, and the dude's vertical leap was impressive. Like, he was in the air 45 degrees to the ground and clicked his heels together he was quite gauche. The microsecond his heels clicked together, you saw his eyes just go really wide like that. And he hit the ground in the same position that because his whole body just locked up, and then he was so densely muscled. He was a Korean dude. Imagine, Eugene, like just a much more jacked Say-One, if that's possible. Like
that's possible.
A bigger, like our friend Say-One's Korean. He's jacked, like super jacked.
Like Charlie Hugh, just Charlie Hugh's calf muscles.
He lay like he was in a pine box on the start line with his feet facing towards us for like 15 minutes, just like, medic! And the medical team kind of wandered over, just looking super salty, like, oh my God, smoking ciggies, They had to stretcher him off this.
No way.
Yeah, but he hit the ground, like, it was insane. Like, it happened, and that was the best. It was so bad. It was so bad.
If you were to do clinical-based research on cramping and you needed to induce cramping in athletes, I think that is the perfect circumstances to do it, is to, one, have a horrendously long set of stairs, and then two, have athletes sprint for 200 metres, and then three, get them to jump in the air and heel clap.
Yeah. But it went on, because people were finishing around him too, because it was quite a busy time. So he wasn't able to move out of the way. Like, he was like that with his. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, it was so bad.
Very funny.
20 minutes in, we've already got two big life lessons. One, don't do that. And two, never trust anything Dave Stewart tells you.
Oh, yeah. Brunei and Belgium.
I mean, three things. Third thing, I'm quite unreliable with my facts. We know this, so
maybe you
sheet that one home.
You can work on the geography facts, because I do the animal facts, and I think it'd be like an interesting evening of QI where we sort of have to hold the microphone together.
What's your speciality, Ali?
Even know. I'm trying to think about which facts mine are. I was going to say maybe running facts, but
yeah, running facts. And what about you, Eugene?
Oh. I'll go with history.
Okay.
I'll take history. Yeah, I'll take history. All right. Okay. We've got that sorted. We've got our dream Trivial Pursuit quiz team.
Yeah.
Speaking of the stairs, what is the best way to climb stairs? Are we talking hands on knees? Are we talking up straight, stand up straight? What is the best way? Because you're going to have to deal with a lot of stairs at UTA, but also heaps of other races. What is the optimum way to get up a set of stairs?
I think it depends on the stairs. So UTA has lots of different types of stairs. You've got stairs that have got those kind of like flat platforms, maybe about a metre, then you go up into the stair. You've got some that are like really close together metal ones with a railing. You've got some that are like little logs. You've got, what else, Kerry? Like a
lot of new infrastructure, actually.
Yeah, lots of new infrastructure.
That's one of the updates you can give everyone. I haven't been on the course recently.
Lots of new kind of, more kind of like, I don't know, I want to
call
it
trail.
Yeah.
Manicured.
Yeah, so more formed stairs. So it depends. Like, probably the thing to kind of keep in mind is putting your whole foot where you can on the step, rather than kind of letting it be halfway off. I know it sounds like common sense, but people often don't kind of aren't cognizant about these things, and they'll just do it. So, and then with ones like going up Fernbow, that sort of thing, I quite like to use my arm as a lever. So levering off the handrails is quite good. Kerry, what about you? What do you reckon?
So the quick facts with UTA is weirdly the ratio of steers per kilometre is highest in the shorter races and lower in the longer races. So the 100k has about 10,500 steers in it, give or take a few hundred. And the 50k's sort of got like about 6,000, and then the 22k's got a little bit more again per kilometre, and then the 11k yet more again. So I think probably the key to UTA is to preserve yourself for the runnable sections, because when you are everyone looks at the elevation profile and they look for the big jaggedy line go up, and they worry about that big piece. But when you're in a march up a long set of stairs, you're just in a march up a long set of stairs, and everyone can kind of hike all day, provided you sort of try to do it at a moderate, not berserk type pace. And it's the sections actually on the top of the escarpment that catch people out. So if you're in the 100k race, it's that third quarter of the race, this sort of section where you leave the aquatic centre and go out to the Fairmont and sort of past Wentworth Falls. So you're sort of talking from sort of 56k's through to about sort of 72k's into the event. There's just a lot of stairs there. And if you think about when you're an ultra marathon, you're always sort of most fragile in that third quarter where you realise you're quite cooked, but you're definitely nowhere near home yet. And it's the fact that the stairs are, 2 stairs down, flat for a second, 5 steps up, flat for a bit, 5 stairs down, 10 stairs down, 8 stairs up. So it sort of does this really weird thing to sort of break your rhythm with running. You're sort of forever, moving forwards and then sort of negotiating a sharp climb that, you just can't run it. Like if it was a meandering, rolling trail, you'd always be moving, at a run on it. But I found that those sections where you sort of you jump down a few steps, you can really bake your quads quite a lot in that race. So I think preservation with the quads is really key for a good UTA, but both in the 100 and the 50k, because there's relatively good running from Queen Vic to the finish line. I mean, you've got sort of almost 8k's of downhill down to Jamison Creek, and it's very runnable downhill, but done too much, you'll end up at Jamison Creek with absolutely baked quads and then sort of still 15, 16k's to go and just no fire left. And people that end up in a sort of death march, they seem like they're ahead of schedule and then they sort of just, really wilt in that last 16k's. And if you've ever, tracked a few athletes using the app on race day, you'll see that some of them, particularly in the nighttime hours, their minute K pace falls away in some of the most runnable sections. And that's sort of they've played their hand quite poorly there. They've thrown at the left and right bower and the joker, and they're sort of left holding, all the low cards trying to play them. But I would say backload your race. Particularly the 50k. It's really good running in the last half of that race. So sort of save, and then unleash. Sort of Queen Vic to the finish. You should be able to run well. So that's how I would, avoid overspending on the stairs would be my bet. And if you are looking to preserve on the stairs and the longer climbs, try and stay upright and make your quads do some of the work instead of sort of stepping up and bouncing off your calf muscles. We'd always say try and stay relatively upright, get the glutes engaged, and I used to say the word down. So push down with your feet as opposed to spring off with your trailing foot. So if you're pushing down, you're driving sort of more with the quads and the glutes, and you're standing upright. And I think that sort of shifts the loading off the calves and sort of stops that fatigue. And a calf muscle, soleus in particular, is a relatively small muscle, but you're driving a big body across 100 kilometres.
That came to mind as well, Ali, when you were talking about making sure you get your foot right on the platform, because if you've got half your foot hanging off a step repeatedly, I imagine your calves are going to be baked.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, just, I don't know, try and be as efficient as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, also with those descents too, like you've got a lot of descending downstairs, which can definitely take a toll on ones like Giant Staircase, which are very aptly named. So, yeah, so with that, we often say, kind of grapevine down them, like constantly kind of weaving and shifting the loading rather than just kind of thundering in the same kind of straight fashion. I always pretend that you're like water. You kind of trickling down the hill or down the stairs just to try and spread that loading a bit.
We've talked, you've mentioned it is such varied it's a really varied race, and there's lots of different parts to it. What's your, ask you first, Ali, and then move on to you, Kerry. What's your favourite part of the course or any of the courses?
It's too hard to choose, to be honest. So Tom and I created that course based on like all of the most kind of beautiful scenery that they could find. So I don't know. I can't really choose a favorite place, like, because when you're on the cliff tops, you get amazing sunsets or sunrises. Like the colors are phenomenal. The waterfalls are absolutely stunning, and the scale of them especially when you're kind of halfway up somewhere like Furba, and you look out and you just go, man, I can't believe them. But then also, like, when I've been course marking or course clearing, like Iron Pot is absolutely magic. Like there's kind of there's Aboriginal water gathering holes and short tool sharpening areas, and that's got kind of this really special spiritual feeling. And then the Megalong Valley as well, like just the long grass and the kangaroos and looking up at the cliff tops, and at the right time of day, like a lot of runners will go through there in the afternoon, and in the afternoon the cliffs are all like this kind of rosy gold. And yeah, so I can't choose a favourite place because I just love the whole area so much for different reasons. Totally fence sitting.
Come on, Kerry, no fence sitting.
Conservation Hut. Shane and Belinda Simpson have taken on the cafe at Conservation Hut, and onion rings. The stack of onion rings is amazing, but also like you can get like a double espresso. You bang it into like a caramel thick shake, and oh baby, that is flavor country right there. So I don't know how much people will be able. I mean, they're literally going past Conservation Hut on race day, so
might be a good spectator.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna clip that up. Coach Kerry Suter says stack of onion rings and a caramel thick shake with
I'm official
double espresso in it.
Yeah, they'll probably be there on race day. They'd laugh. They would serve as hard as they could if they could do it. They would help out. They always have been involved in the event. But I agree with Ali. I really like the Iron Pot. So if you're doing the 50K or one of the shorter distances, think about one day. Getting into UTA 100 and getting out to Iron Pot, because it's private access for a start, so you just can't sort of get there any other time. And Tara's ladders, and it's kind of a shame that no longer doing the ladder actual climb. Have you guys been out to the pins and been on Tara's ladders previously? No, that's two shaken heads. That's worth a trip if you get time to go out there. It's about 11 k's to go out Narrow Neck, and it's the first water point, I think, in the 100k race. But they're now using what we used to call the chicken run, the sort of a switchback trail that sort of comes off.
You did.
I started calling it the chicken run. The pins are amazing. For anyone that hasn't been out there, basically you've got a vertical cliff face of sort of about, it's probably about 10 meters or so, and they've just sort of stuck metal bits of rebar into the cliff face, and it's vertical. It's like literally vertical. There's nothing, there's no gradient beyond zero. So you are, or 90, you're climbing down these metal things, and it's really weird. The minute you get up there, you sort of, all the air comes into your lungs and you're like, oh, blimey. And then you sort of have to think about it for a little while, and you sort of like tentatively, gingerly try the first pin, and then you'll eventually get down. And we it's a great place to go and play. And I'd imagine if you put 1,000 people out there, it would be chaos and bedlam. And I can see why it's not used in the race, but rather hilariously, Tara's ladders is named after one of the early bushwalkers out there, and there's a little plaque that says we put these pins in for the wusses that can't just climb down the cliff face kind of thing. And I'm like, I couldn't even imagine climbing down the cliff face without the pins. But that's my if you ever get the chance, get out to the end of Tara's, play on the pins, or try Ruined Castle, which is just past Golden Staircase. It's just off the course as well.
And following on from that, and I, feel free to fence it or not. What's your favorite memory from your time at UTA?
I don't know if it's favorite, because there's been so many people that I absolutely love finish the race and, have shared happy moments and hugs and tears and all that sort of stuff. But one of my favorites is, I think it was one of the first years that I went to UTA. It might have been 2016. And at about 3 a.m., I just thought, I'm going to go up and down Fur, because lots of people I know are coming in soon, and I'll just kind of go and cheer them on, and like it'd be quite cool to see people at 99.5 Ks of their 100K race at 3 a.m. in the morning. So off I go down Furber, and I think it was like the second or third rep, and there's a cliff face with about 400, an overhang with about 400 meters to go. And I get down there, and there's a park bench underneath it. And there's this group, and at UTA, when you are doing the 100K and it gets dark, you need to put on a high-vis vest. So there is this group, a gaggle or something like that you could call it, of
Gamble.
100K runners that are all in high-vis vests, just hanging out under this overhang with 400 meters to go at like 3 a.m. in the morning. And I look at them and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, and I'm like, you've got 400 meters to go. Like, what are you hanging out here for? And they were all just kind of like, I don't know. And I'm like, come on. And so basically shoo them along. So I was like, they were like naughty kids at the, caught smoking behind the bike sheds at school. That was one of the funniest things I think I've seen. Just like, I was just so confused. Like, you're just hanging out here. Like, you're so close to the finish line. You could be having, hot chocolates and chips and warm clothes and get your buckle or medal or whatever it is. So that was definitely an iconic moment.
Not race day memory. It takes a lot of work to course mark and course strip that event. So the course marking starts about 8 days prior to the first event, and they're course marking basically up to the final moment to get everything in line, and then taking everything down takes about 3 or 4 days to get everything off the course. And one of the things we used to do for the course strip is to do a drop bag challenge. So there'd be some leftover odds and sods in people's drop bags, at unclaimed bits and pieces, and we would let the Tom and Alina's kids, Archie and Jackson, choose some things for Kurt Matthews or myself or whoever was going out to
me
and Ali as part of our fueling for the day, because we basically would do the like the first 50K of the 100K as a day. So I would get this drop bag that was made of all sorts of the most horrendous leftover things that you can find from the thousands of people that took part. And we would often, shoot a video or have a laugh. But basically, I've cooked 2-minute noodles in a Ziploc bag using only
Red Bull
in a Ziploc bag down my pants to get the temperature in them to cook them, and then to sort of to eat these 2-minute noodles that have been,
the doodle noodles.
That's correct. That have been stewing in Red Bull, and then you're trying to consume it and it's coming out your nose, and it was just a funny thing. I think Kurt must have had like about a litre of that pickle juice. So you just the shenanigans I think that goes into behind the scenes stuff that's going on. We've got to try and make some fun out of the thing as well, right?
You seem to have a thing with like bad food. I remember when you did that. You told me years ago when you did that. Was it the can of chicken casserole or something that you ate at a hut?
17-year-old.
17 years old.
Yeah. I ran across the country and I didn't realize I found a rat pack in one of the huts, and I'd been running for like a couple of days and I was out of food because I'm an idiot and I didn't take enough, and I just started eating this rat pack army rations like pack, and I ate this chicken casserole, and it wasn't until like about 6 or 7 hours later I was at sort of several huts and I was lying there about to go to sleep, and I'm like, wait a second, what year was on that packet? And then I realized it was 2002. So it just had this sort of like, it was like cat food, like a cat food consistency, like that sort of wet cat food stuff, and I'd eaten this sort of chicken casserole that was 17 years old. So not anymore. Like I like to be as good a vegan as I can be nowadays.
You know how lots of podcasts these days come with a warning at the top, usually about sort of mental health issues and so on. I feel like this one's going to need to come with a health warning.
Absolutely.
Like, the Ministry of Health's going to shut us down.
Ali, tell them about young guy.
Tell them about the course strip, Ali.
Oh yeah, we used to always do a course strip photo, so there'd be just us with like pink ribbons and signs covering up the bits. Pretty funny.
I have climbed Tara's ladders completely naked. So that's happened with a photographer below me, which is not a flattering angle, really, actually. So he should have thought that one through. Like, yeah,
I hope the photographer got danger money.
yeah. I don't know why I needed a photographer for that. Sorry about that. We're very sidetracked, but those are some of the funny things that's happened at UTA.
No, they're brilliant.
At some
They're
stage,
brilliant.
it'd be great. Chat to Tom and Alina about this stuff. We'll get them on the pod because they're hilarious. He doesn't like being in the spotlight, but hell, he's hilarious when he is. Tom is so funny. Like Paul and Tim, it takes sort of like people, big imagination people, really kind of quirky and fun that help make the events, special. And it's still in the Ironman team, if I'm perfectly honest. There's, Devin and Tanya and the guys and the girls that put it on every bit the hilarious crew that I think we've always had there.
If people have been listening to this or have ever contemplated entering UTA, it does seem a bit of a sort of I don't know, how do I get into that? What's the routine? What's the best way for somebody to get into it? And should you just dive straight in for the 100K, or should you do one of the smaller events first? What's your advice?
Tough one. I think I'd probably just say,
hey, it was your question beforehand.
Go the 100K, because you won't know how tough it is until if you see the terrain and you, like, for me, I think I'm just like, I can't even imagine doing the 100K because I always cover the course in chunks. So I think just go big and then find out on the day. No, what do you think, Kerry?
When they introduced the 22K, the thing I thought that was really, really cool was we saw, like a lot of kind of first-time trail runners. I mean, that was at the time, it was the shortest distance that was available at the event. And it just suddenly made it accessible for people to be part of this, this big trail running thing. And I think they, they're tomorrow's, trail and ultra runners are the ones that, didn't own any trail shoes, have done, the flyaway Sydney half. Runaway, yeah. And, or, like a couple of the half marathons, and they're just like, oh, I'll give that, I've done 21Ks, what's 22Ks? And then I think, they get blown away by it, and maybe, the community's completely different. And I think, that's where I would start. Weirdly, the 11K, I don't know. I think that's a good event for sort of like, the family group, like dads running with daughters and those sorts of things. And, spending time together. I think if you're going to step up and do, a trail run and, and you live in New South Wales and you're thinking, I think UTA 22 would be the one you get into, because it's pretty runnable. And you can kind of train for it just about anywhere. And it's just a roll down a hill and then just a couple of sets of stairs and you're done.
Easy. Yeah. That 11K, I do like that family aspect of it. And you often see runners who've lined up in the 11K and then you'll see them pop up again. They're doing the 50 or the 100. Or even, some people do all 3 days at different distances. But I do like that aspect of it, actually, that 11K. But what's the, what's the logistics? What's the advice you have for people who want to get into UTA?
Yeah, so sort accommodation early. Like, accommodation is always kind of the bane of people's life when it comes to UTA. It can get quite hard to source because it's such a big event. So try and get somewhere in Katoomba or one of the kind of mountains towns if you can. And that's probably one of the first things to lock up. And also the entry, like historically it's sold out, on race day. And we've seen the race sell out again this year. So I think we might go back to seeing it sell out a lot faster. So I would get that entry locked in. And also it'll make you train. Take it seriously because you want to take it seriously. It's a beautiful, amazing area to run in, but it is challenging. And then the other thing is, like, if you're coming from another state or New Zealand, you fly into Sydney and you've got options. You can either hire a car and it's a couple of hours to drive from Sydney Airport up to Katoomba, or you can catch the train from the airport to the station, the central station, and then you've got a couple of hours on the train. And the airport ticket is something like $25, and then the one up to Katoomba was something like $5. So it's a pretty affordable way to get up the mountain and pretty easy, depending on if you're traveling with a family or not. But yeah, so So pretty straightforward, really. Like it's actually a lot easier to get to than you would expect. You know, you think, oh, the Blue Mountains, and they must be kind of in the middle of nowhere, but actually they're pretty accessible.
Should we run down some elites?
Yeah.
The meat and
Well, not personally.
Right.
or in a car.
Yeah.
No,
run 'em down.
definitely not in a car.
You'd have to drive pretty quick to catch some of these elites, to be honest.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
The form Lucy Bartholomew's in. I know you need a good car
my
now.
goodness me.
Yeah, bring the girl back to the mountain. She's so good up there. I think probably that was one of the great moments, actually, was her birthday, eh? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I was thinking that was actually, and she actually talked about that because I messaged a few of the people that I know that are racing and just said, oh, have you got any little gems or kind of like inside snippets that we can share? And Lucy had said, because I said, like, what's the go, Lucy? Are you racing? Like, I see you're in for the 100K. And she said, for me, UTA is a brick in the wall towards UTMB. She's going to try some new nutrition. She's going to get in a long local day. And she said, doing a race that 10 years ago I did just before my 18th birthday. She's like, shh, don't let Tom. Oh, she said, Tom Landon Smith let me in. And she said, now I'm doing it before my 28th. It feels full circle. But she really, like that year that she won, she spent, the summer, like absolutely doing her homework on those trails. And she had a phenomenal performance. She's an amazing athlete, and she continues to, prove that. That was my, I think probably my racing highlight for UTA was seeing that all come together for Lucy, pretty much on her birthday, just a little bit before. and
she's in good form too, right? So I mean, she was 10th at UTMB last year, and I know that's her focus is to really big mountain stuff, but she's had a bit of a sort of a lull in peak performance for her since sort of that second at Western States. So it's really cool seeing her sort of back on form again, and it looks like she's really enjoying her running, which is great. She's done a bit of triathlon, a bit of swim bike as well, so continues to grow in the space, which is cool. She was she did the UTA last year, and she was second, I think, right? Were you guys there?
Yeah, UTA 100 2023, she was second. So she's definitely not to be discounted, even though she's saying, like, oh, I'm just going out for a big long day. She is an incredible athlete and ambassador for our sport. And she's been like, she considers UTA her birthday party, and she's there year after year. And she's had so many UTA podiums, and I am looking forward to seeing what unfolds on race day.
And that's the thing, isn't it? You can't. When we were at Kosciuszko, what did she do? The 27 at Kosciuszko, and she did the same thing. She was like, I'm just in here for a nice long cruisy day. It's just and then the red mist descended, and she podiumed that too, didn't she? She
was fourth.
Fourth. Yeah. But still,
And Tarawera 100 mile.
Oh, totally, huge.
Just same again. Oh no, just out for a run. Smacked it down.
But I think that's so. She's obviously racing 100K, but she's not going to have it all to herself. I think because Steph Austin won 6 foot track this year, and 6 foot tracks just over 40Ks, and she's fine over the longer stuff too. She did Cozumela last year, and she was second place there and second place at UTA 50 last year. So that win at 6 foot is mega, because for those who don't sort of really know, 6 foot track is kind of like the Australian Kepler. It's so pointy, so sharp. So she's obviously in really, really good form. So I would expect both of those women to be on the podium. And
then like she with the highest UTMB performance index, or ITRA index, I think it was. No, UTMB performance index is Beth McKenzie, who was second in Tarawera 100K this year, previous Ironman athlete. She's also been banned from Ironman for doping, so that's I don't know how people feel about that, but that's something that's happened in her life.
Yeah, so she has been banned and served a sentence in triathlon, and is now trail running quite a bit. And I don't I haven't heard strong opinions from people, and I don't know how you guys feel about it. Some people feel as though a doping ban is a lifetime sentence for sport, in its entirety, and they feel that strongly about it. I've heard other people sort of refer to doping bans as if you've committed a crime and you've served your time, we are in, you agree that you're no longer going to behave like that, then
to me, it's all about context, and I'm unaware of the context around what led to her being banned. If somebody gets caught, they put their hand up, they admit what they've done. They're afraid. Sometimes an explanation of the circumstance is helpful. If you know that, then you can judge it in a certain way. But if it's somebody who's tried to hide and only been caught because they were unlucky or whatever, then that's a different situation. So there's never any hard and fast rule with me. I believe in justice both ways. So if you've done the crime, you should be caught, and we want to see that as a sport. But then on the other hand, if you've done the crime and you've done your time and you've admitted the error of ways, you've seen what you've done, then that's a different situation to me. I think people should be allowed to make mistakes in their lives.
Yeah, and then do we extrapolate that out to, and again, I don't know Beth's comportment around this. No. Do we extrapolate that out to anyone who's ever served a custodial sentence? Can't race, can't ever come to UTA or anywhere else, or anyone who's been, really suspected of something but been found not guilty. Or how do you? It's hard, isn't it? I remember when Lance Armstrong was in New Zealand doing an advert for something.
Oh, yeah.
And it was around the time when Riverhead Rampage was on. He was starting to get into a bit of trail running, and I was like, what do I do? I had this thing like, man, it'd be cool if he turned up to our race, because every rooster in a 200-mile radius would have come and entered Riverhead Rampage to get the chance to,
Well, wasn't he? He was riding up and down Tamaki Drive with like 600 people around him.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't have, he could have been riding on the wrong side of the road. He had like a protected phalanx with him. No one would have hit him. They would have. Yeah, but what would you do? Yeah. That's the thing. Like, what do you do in that? We're not a sanctioned event. We're not it's a can of worms, really, isn't it?
It is. It's really hard. And I'm with you, Eugene. I think, there's different circumstances and she's able to race. So back to Beth. She is a really slick athlete. She, on paper, you'd say she's probably the pick to win. She was not too far behind Ruth Croft. It's at points during the Tarawera 100K this year. But, like Steph and Lucy, they've got that course knowledge and experience that might play to their favour. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this women's race.
Naomi Brand?
Yeah, she's also not to be discounted. She's like right up there. She did have a DNF at Tarawera Miler this year. I heard going into it that she'd been training up an absolute storm and that she was likely to perform. So she's probably got a lot of good fitness behind her. She was second at UTCT in the 100 miler in 2023. So it would have actually been really tough backing up from that in December to come into Tarawera Miler in February. So, we shall see how she goes on race day.
Yeah, that's the women's podium sorted. No space for Katie Wright.
I talked to Katie actually. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting when we're covering off racing this year is that we're kind of seeing a lot of the same people at Kosi, at Tarawera, at UTA, and it's quite fascinating because they're quite different courses. So although they might be similar, it might be one person wins one race and somebody's the bridesmaid, and then it'll change at one of the other races because they're pretty close in performance. And I'm talking about men's and women's races. Like looking at the athletes, I'm like, oh yeah, lots of the usual suspects are here. It's going to be really exciting to see how it goes. So Katie Wright, I talked to her. So she raced Tarawera 100 this year, and she was fifth. She was third at Tom Myler in 2023, and she ran the alternate. I think it was an alternate in 2022 at UTA 100. She was ninth. And so I messaged her and I was like, hey, Katie, how you going? Have you been getting some steers into your training? Because it would be tricky where she's based. And she said, timely question. Just back from a UTA specific session on a 2.5K loop with 100 metres of steers in the middle. Gotta love a loop. And she said, looking forward to spending a bit longer in the Blue Mountains this time round and hopefully a more enjoyable race than last time, because she said she was vomiting a lot last time. So we shall see what it means for Katie.
You can't discount her. That's
No
the
way.
thing. You can't. You really cannot discount the good doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few other women in there too. Hayley Teals, fourth place at Tarawera in February. Nine Dragons, she raced in February. Scenic Rim, she won that. And Mutatapu, she won that last year. Nicole Patton, Ali, she's done GNW 100K last year. Was that right? She won that?
Yeah. And she tends to race a lot, Nicole. She's from Victoria. She was fifth place at Buffalo 100K. She was second place at a Taiwania Ultra Trail in 2023. She last ran UTA 100K in 2017 and she was 10th. She said she's feeling really strong going into UTA. She just wants to have an enjoyable race and perform the best of her ability. She was like, I can't control who turns up, and I'll just do kind of what I can do. But she wants to be top 10. So, and she said she's looking forward to a reunion of the 2023 World Trail and Mountain Running Champs long course team. Yeah, they'll know each other pretty well.
Another couple of names just to keep an eye out for in the women's 100K is Sarah Ludovici and Claire O'Brien-Smith. Both have raced in Kenyani in the last couple of years and have run pretty well. So that's, there's about 9 women there that are, there or thereabouts. Maybe 3 or 4 standouts, but it'll be all on for the big dance.
What about the men's 100K?
Yeah, I'm quite excited about this, and I'll be keen to hear your thoughts, guys, because like I said, we're seeing lots of the familiar names. So Michael De Moantes, he's kind of got the highest ranking. So he was Buffalo Stampede 20K first race this year, Tarawera 100K 6th place, 2023 GPT 50K first place, Cosy 100K 4th place. He's raced a bit overseas. He was 3rd place in UTA 100 in 2021. But I'm actually going to put my money on Ronnie Spark, because Ronnie, we saw him have an absolutely blistering Tarawera 50K this year. He took the win in a solid field, and his partner was standing on the finish line. She was super nervous waiting for him because it was kind of pretty tight between him and Michael Voss, and I was talking to her about his training, and she's like, he's been really dialed in, training really well. He obviously won 6-foot track last year, which is huge, and he ran Cosy 100 in 2022 and came second. 20th at CCC last year. I feel like he's on this trajectory and we haven't even seen the best of him yet. So I reckon UTA 100, my pick is on Ronnie to win. But what do you guys think?
I'm there with you. I mean, last year, and he comes from a track background as well. So middle distance runner, ran for his school back in the UK. He's from the UK originally. He missed the 50K last time because he had the flu. So he was but he was there, and I think he even. I'm not sure if he came up to Katoomba, but he was really kind of trying to get over until kind of the day of, and I think he scratched relatively close to the race. But his training before that was dialed in, up in the mountains every weekend, and he was also one of the, I can't remember the other gentleman, Polish
Charlie Hamilton.
No, Polish runner. That was the year that him and this. They came
Peter
past,
Babis?
Yeah, that's it. They came past us with Ben St. Lawrence parked on their tail. And, Ben took him in the last 2K, I think, at the 50.
Yeah,
But they're just
that was a sight.
they're
wasn't it?
just
Yeah,
it's
savages.
Spark for the win for me. Although got to say George Murray. I mean,
Well,
George
some of
Murray,
them.
yeah.
George Murray.
Yeah, there's a bit of train
absolutely,
spotting in this top 10 list, I think, with these guys. And I think when you've got, so many athletes that are, really close to each other, you can get some, big explosions, you can get real battles, and you can get, upsets and things that you didn't anticipate. And George Murray's in there. I actually quite like Red Gibson, and Vlad Chatrov is racing again, and you can get, there's two different Vlad Chatrovs.
There's
the one that is just record-setting pace, and no one will even see his heels after the first kilometre. And then there's the one that's like a barbecue at Reactor 2 at the Chernobyl power plant. He can grenade in ways that you just cannot imagine. So, if things hook up for Vladimir, he had a really patchy year last year, but on and off, he could take any of these guys on on his good day.
Yeah, and Mike Carroll, we had a lot of banter about Mike at Tarawera. He was third at Tarawera 100 miler this year, third Buffalo 42K this year, second UTA 100 last year, fourth at 6 foot, fourth at UTA 100 in 2022. And so he's a really experienced athlete, and I think he'll run a really wise race. And then the same can be said about Rhett Gibson. He was second at 6 foot track this year, and that's the one, like we said, all eyes are on 6 foot, and all eyes are on UTA 100. And he was second at Cosy last year, fifth at Tarawera 100K. He's done UTA 100 in 2016, so he's not to be discounted.
Yeah, Rhett races 6 foot a lot. So I mean, he's good on the stairs. He's good, as good as those 3 or 4 others that we've mentioned. There's a few other sort of names to watch for as well. I think Andy McConnell's one that sort of stands out a bit. He's won Surf Coast Century last year in just under 9 hours, which is pretty good running. Bit of sand in that race. Wyatt Millen from the USA, he's done Black Canyon a couple of years ago, second at Swiss Alps 50 last year. Naota Takimura from Japan does a lot of racing in Japan almost exclusively, so it's hard to gauge. But 12th at Ultra Trail Mount Fuji, which is last year, which is UTMF is a very competitive race in Japan. So just outside of the top 10 there is mega. Michael Lesniak from Poland, 13th at Istria 100 this year, second at Vietnam 50. He did UTMB last year and I think was just outside of the top 100. So can run as well. So, there's again, like the women, there's probably about, 5 other pretenders to the throne that are sort of looking for scraps, and there's a shot at a podium for any of them.
And that's the thing, isn't it? When you've got so many top athletes turning up for a race and they're all going to show down and throw it down on the day, that itself becomes a factor.
Totally.
You've got the course, you've got the training and all that sort of stuff. But if you're in a race, that can have a positive and a negative impact on the outcome. So, it's going to, both those men's and women's races are wow, can't wait. Bring it. Yeah,
main event, that's 100K, so super competitive. The women's 50K, again, the 50K, like Tarawera, is always very spicy and very competitive. Usually a lot of athletes that are working through the distances and sort of more proficient around that sort of 40-50K distance, targeting these events. And I'm really excited about the 50K men's race, but we'll get to that. I think starting with the women, Kate Avery was second at Tarawera 50K this year. She was third the previous year at Tarawera 50. She won Warburton Trail Festival 27 this year and Buffalo 20 this year. She won the GPT 50 last year, and so she's a good shot for a win over the 50K.
And she knows how to empty the tank. Like, we saw her at Tarawera and she races hard, so that's going to be exciting. And literally 1 point splits the difference between her and Sarah Jane Miller. So, and Sarah Jane was second to Kate at Buffalo 20K. So I bet she's got a little bit of or two revenge that she wants to serve on Kate for that, I'm sure. A bit of a battle will go down. She was fifth at UTA 50 last year, second UTA 22 in 2022. She won Buffalo 42K last year, so another incredible runner. So those two will have a bit of a battle alongside Juliet Sewell. So she was 7th place at UTA 50 last year. She won Tarawera 21 in 2023. She's pretty closely ranked to the other two girls. And she in 2023 she won Noosa 50K in 4 hours, which is pretty slick.
I like to think there's a lot of Australians listening to this podcast going, Tarawera, 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 Tarawera. Just working on it as a Tarawera, because we've had some Tarawaras over the years. Tarawera. It's not easy. Roll that R.
Although
another lady. Oh, sorry, Matt, you go.
I mean, we've all stood on this. We've all been on the finish line of these races, going at some of the
names,
some of the suburbs. We're like, yeah. So it goes. I know for me, it goes both ways.
Yeah, totally. It does.
Massacred.
And interestingly, working back, Katoomba used to be called the Crusher because it was just the where the coal crusher was before it was a township that became Katoomba. And its Katoomba kind of comes from a cannibalization or bastardization of Kadumba, which is the hill that everyone runs down. And Kadumba is a bastardization of Kadumbra, which is the Aboriginal name for the area as well. So, which is, a lot more sort of nasal and has G's, and I'm sure I'm nowhere near it. So it's funny how we've ended up with this hard K and a letter T and all of this stuff going on in a word that's sort of like, it's very much sort of third hand as a name for a town. But it's a unique spot.
I think Matt, I think Kerry just trampled right across our geography and history specialities right there.
Twice the size of a bunch of bananas.
I've got my map there. You can see, but the scale of it is.
If you squint
I'm more macro.
Kerry, you didn't even have an animal fact in there.
Did you know the female botfly gives birth
and geography? Unbelievable.
The female botfly gives birth to a larvae that weighs more than its mother.
I did not know that.
There's a lot of mums out there that just like had an audible breath, but there's
a lot of mums out there that crying.
And they do it like 3 or 4 times in a lifetime. They only do sort of 3 or 4 young. They don't sort of do a big brood like that. But there's the female botfly. But sorry, can we just get back to the female
50K men's race?
Yeah,
let's go.
Quite distracted. On to Katie Morgan, who we had to do a little bit of digging here. So, she won Kepler Challenge in 2023 in 5 hours 30, first 60K race. She was second at Old Ghost last year. She's Wanaka based. And I've just said, hopefully she knows about the steers. Yeah. And then we've got Margie Campbell. And Margie, she was actually one I had to do a lot of digging about. So if it's the one who I think it is, she's got some really slick marathon results over the years. 2:43 has been her fastest marathon. And she'd done quite a few around that kind of time. She's done some sub 6 hour Keplers. She also ran a 10-hour Tarawera 100K in 2017, which was a particularly hot year that year.
Yeah. Just do that again. 10-hour Tarawera 100K.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what comes for her. Then Lauren Rook, so she was second at Cosy 50K last year. She won Buffalo Stampede 73 in 2022. Demi Caldwell, 5th at Tarawera 50K this year and 3rd at Cosy 50 last year. So we've got some experience racing happening in UTA 50. It will be interesting to see what unfolds there.
What do you pick, guys? Train spotters, what do you think?
Katie Morgan is a bit of a dark horse there for me.
Yeah.
She's, she's smart. She's got the ability to win. She knows how to win. I reckon keep an eye out. And we had the fortune of catching up with Kate Avery on the elite panel last year at Tarawera. This year, sorry, at Tarawera, and she's the real deal. She's great. Very nervous talking, but once she was racing, obviously. Yeah,
I think she knows how to do really well.
That.
Right, Men's 50K from France, Clément Durand. He has done a sub 3 hours Sierra Zinal, which is pretty hot. Sierra Zinal is a very, very competitive race, I think, that only puts you sort of in the top 50, but sub 3 hours over 30K of Swiss Alps is some running. 4-hour marathon de Mont Blanc, and so that's as the title suggests, 42 k's in Chamonix is hard running. So 4 hours of anything in Chamonix is good going. If you're covering 40 k's, even better. So he's really good on the hard hilly stuff. So this might suit him. There's a guy called Scott Hawker.
Exactly the same UTMB index as Clement. They actually tried to claim Scotty as Australian for a while. He was kind of like the king of Katoomba for a while when he lived there. He has had amazing performances at UTA before. We've put down, it depends which Scotty we get. Like, he races really well overseas. Last month he was third at the Vibram Mare Montana in Italy. He was at Tarawera 50k this year. He was 15th. So he wasn't his best there, I don't think. 15th at UTMB last year. Previous UTA 100 winner, second place in 2022. So he knows how to race in Katoomba. We'll see where he's at. Yeah.
Seems like he's in pretty good nick at the moment from his training. I mean, he won Skedaddle course record a couple of weeks ago, like 3:47 for 43k with 2,100 meters of elevation. Smoked it. So yeah, you're right.
And then ran the kids'
And then
race.
he won the kids' race. Which feels unfair to me.
Well, he didn't win, actually. He was quite a way down.
So there we go.
Yeah. So,
I was going to say, if he was running with his daughter, then what's going on?
His
Did he
niece.
piggyback her?
His niece.
His niece.
Oh, niece. Okay.
Yeah.
He's done a bit of racing actually in Italy this year. So he's done a bit of racing this year, and he looks to be on really good form. It's probably you guys might know is probably a build up for a CCC or a UTMB type thing if he's sort of flittering back and forth from Australasia to Europe.
10 years.
A good Scott Hawker run would be very hard to beat over 50 k's. Tiago Vera from Portugal. I had a quick look. A lot of racing in Portugal. A lot of sort of middle stuff. Not a lot of stuff over 50k. I mean, you're going into an area that you don't know. Good luck, Tiago. Could be an upset. Who knows? Looks fast, but it's hard to gauge much of Portuguese racing. Charlie Hamilton.
My boy, Charlie.
Hey, Ali. I'm literally in the room.
Love that guy. He's such a cool kid. Second place, Buffalo 42k this year. Tarawera 50k this year. He was second place to Ronnie. So he's probably, I don't know, him and Ronnie get along well, I think. So I was thinking, they're probably happy to be in different races. I'm sure they'll be cheering each other on. UTA 50 last year, he was second place. Kelsey 27 and 22, he was first place. So he's got to be up there for sure. He knows that course. He's pretty young. He's getting more and more experienced and racking up more podiums. So a little bit similar to Ronnie in the fact that I think the trajectory is heading, in the right direction.
Schmidt.
The flying doctor.
The flying doctor.
Houndschmidt.
Houndschmidt.
Oh
I actually had messaged him, but I haven't heard back from him.
The Red Baron.
The Red Baron.
I don't know. He is amazing. He is invincible, and he races so much and so fast. I mean, second at Kepler, 4 hours 45 minutes for Kepler. That's a fast run. He was second at Old Ghost last year. Obviously won Tarawera 50 last year. Wasn't he just running at fault line?
Yeah, he won the 24k. He had a broken foot, so I don't know. He must be back in form. He probably hasn't had the training block that he would like, but I know with David, you don't underestimate him. He's a clinical dude, hey, and he knows how to race.
Just when you think you're safe, he's stolen a bunch of your Strava crowns. That you get a notification from Strava to say, Houndschmidt has shown up at some place that you used to go to and you've lost all your Strava crowns. That's what happens. He is ruthless. He's buried me probably 100 times. Oh, well.
The thing with David and that Kepler second place, did you see the photos of his feet?
I don't look at that stuff, but I remember hearing that they were atrocious.
So he probably had a hole in each of his, probably a good amount of that, just de-roofed.
Send us a link. Love that.
No.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, baby.
Oh.
But, over the last 10K, that's, I wonder if he hadn't have had to stop and didn't he have to stop on course and attend to his own feet? And they were like, so,
That's how hot he is.
Yep.
He's burning up.
And that was second to Dan Jones, right? So
yeah.
He's quite good.
Dan
pretty
Jones is quite
good.
good.
Danielle Jones. Yep.
So I reckon David, he'll actually, I think he'll be up there with Scotty pushing the pace.
Gabriel Fior, 6th place at COSI 50 last year, 9th at UTA 50 last year. Tom Driscoll, 2nd at Buffalo Stampede, 20K this year, 2nd at Guzzler last year. What else we got? Benji Patterson, a DNF Tarawera miler, but 5th at UTA 100 last year and 11th place at Tarawera miler last year. So some good running there, but for me, my pick is David Houndschmidt with not a broken foot, or Scott Hawker, and maybe Charlie Hamilton. Those are my picks. What do you guys think?
Same.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, I was that was my pre-chat picks, but I did like what you had to say about Clement Durance.
I've been upset. But if you were head to head, Scott Hawker over David Houndschmidt, or which way around are we going to go on that one?
Well, I mean, also, this is the thing. Like, you've got Scott Hawker, who's had all these amazing results in the mountains. Like, let's not forget that David is the current reigning Xterra world champion at the marathon distance, and he entered that on a jolly. He sort of went over and thought, "Oh, I'll have a go," and he won the damn thing. I don't think. I wonder if he, he's so focused on his sort of. Obviously, he's an emergency department consultant. If he decided to go all in, and have a crack at maybe being a professional athlete, I don't know. He's just he's quality. But then Scott, you've got Scott Hawker, who's been a professional athlete for years and years and years and years.
10 years.
And 10 years, yeah, you're right, and knows the. Not only does he have the sort of athletic abilities of that, but he's got the infrastructure. He knows the sport. So I don't know.
Well, it was interesting what you said, Ali, about you don't know whether David has had the training block. I get the sense with him that racing is his training.
I was going to say, it doesn't even matter.
Which as coaches, I'm sure that doesn't sound great, but he just thrives on it. He loves racing, and good luck to him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting.
It's going to be so exciting. I can't wait to see what unfolds.
Yeah, so the big show for all those people travelling up there, make sure you get there early. Go check out the farmers market, the expo. It's pretty epic.
Come to the Women in Trail panel. I'm hosting a Women in Trail panel. I'd love.
When's that, Ali?
Oh, shoot, you put me on the spot. I need to have a look.
Friday evening, right before the event, director's briefing.
No, it's definitely not.
Oh, that's a good guess. It's usually around about then.
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, loads of stuff, I think, for people at UTA. Yeah. It's one of those.
The expo is amazing.
Did that blow your mind the first time you saw that?
Took me right up to panic attack. I went in to get like a shirt or something, because I went in to get a shirt, and there was this group of women and men. There were tons of men, but it was a group of women, and they had some like some UTMB seam seal jacket, and one of them went, "How much is that, Dal?" And she goes, "I don't even mind, or I don't care." Basically, like, I'm buying this, and it was madness.
I'll never forget. Kurt Matthews was one of the photographers for the event. Was one of the Kiwi guys, was trying to capture the weekend and to do it, and he was asking these Aussies where the race chicken was, and they were like, "The chicken," and he's like, "The race chicken," and they're like, "What chicken?"
The race chicken.
The race chicken. Where's the race chicken? And these Aussies just could not understand. So they're imagining this large. You know when the Peter Griffin from Family Guy is fighting that big yellow. So I think that's what they're thinking. Whilst Kurt's asking for the race chicken. So apologies. It's a predominantly Kiwi commentary team too, so you guys are going to have to be a little bit careful with the number after 5. So, my pro tip, because I'm not going to be there this year, obviously, to help you guys out, is when you're doing that countdown, do this thing where you go 10, 9, 8, 7. Good luck, everyone. 5, 4, 3. Because that way you can just jump clean over it that way, and then people are like, yeah. The other thing too is Scenic World has got this really good lookout area, and most of us would call it a deck, but Australians call it something else. And for the life of me, I don't know what it is. But I just say sort of like a sort of a paved lookout area that you can go.
The veranda.
Do not call it a deck.
Patio.
Yeah.
Go to the yeah.
Great view from the deck. Okay, I found it. Women in Trail Panel was on Friday at 2:00.
There we go.
Got
Nice
it.
pivot,
Segue
Ellie.
there,
That
Ellie.
was
Yeah, thanks.
right.
Very good.
Well, thank you very much. It's so nice to see you both. Feels like it's rushing up. We're going to be there, and Kerry, you'll be with us in spirit, and can't wait.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing all that knowledge.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. What a download.
Yeah, for those who still got time, there's UTA has got some really good Facebook groups. So there's UTA 100, UTA 50, and UTA 22 Facebook groups, and they're really supportive. Lots of people in there. So if you feel like you got some last minute questions and stuff, you can chuck stuff out to the community. Even if you want to ask about the conditions of the trails, or what shoes you might want to bring on race day, all those sorts of things. So I'm usually floating around in there, deleting bad posts and helping people with bits and pieces. So it's supportive all the way right to the finish line and beyond. So make the most of it, enjoy it. Sorry I'm not going to be there, but enjoy your UTA if you're going to be part of it. And thank you, Dirt Church Radio, for all that you do for the sport as well.
They rule. I'm really excited now.
Very, very excited. I'm excited too that we've divided up into geography, history, animal facts, and just Ellie played herself down there. She just knows everything.
No, she's. Oh dear.
Anyway.
Check the race out. Even if you're not going to the race and you have the chance, go to Katoomba. It's pretty cool. You won't regret it.
Yeah.
But look, thanks to Ali, Kerry, thanks to you, bro, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. We're on social media at Dirt Church Radio. You can email us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. Now, don't forget to sign up to the new podcast and newsletter.
Also, don't forget to send in your greatest run ever. We'd love to hear from you. Have a read of them on the website. Get inspired, then send us your one. dirtchurchradio@gmail.com.
Thanks to our sponsors, Julbo, Further Faster, Currans, and to our Substack subscribers in the DCR Aid Station crew. Stay tuned for our show in 2 weeks when we have another great guest lined up, and check out the DCR Aid Station next week.
Hei kona. Thanks, Rigby.